FM.
Eager to enjoy the fun things in life? No matter where your road leads you, Charter Bank is here to make the journey a bit easier. With bank-free checking with online statements, we take care of the little things, like those pesky fees. You'll also have access to your account 24/7 with free online and mobile banking, plus over 55,000 surcharge-free ATMs worldwide. And a nice thank you gift, too, when you open your account. Take a moment and visit us online at charterbank.net or stop by one of our many convenient locations today. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Join us here, live from Noonan, Georgia, as we present the Health, Happiness, and Harmony Hour, every Wednesday from 10 to 11. I'm your host, Dr. Lewis Boynton. Please join us each week as we have new guests and talk about topics related to the psychological world. We're hoping that you will find interesting and helpful topics that will help you have more health, happiness, and harmony in your life. Join us every Wednesday from 10 to 11 at 99.1 WQEE Rock and Roll Radio.
Are you a night owl looking for something weird, strange, and a little bit out of the ordinary? Hi there, this is Dave Scott, host of Spaced Out Radio. I'd love it if you joined us on WQEE 99.1 FM nightly, where we talk about everything that goes bump in the night. So if you've seen a UFO, Bigfoot in the forest, or your home happens to be haunted, we're the show for you. So tune us in right here on WQEE, where together, my friends, we own the night.
Hey, Noonan, Georgia, it's Hugh Hewitt. Listen to me weeknights right here on 99.
Southern Fried Books, 29 Jackson Street, Noonan. Downtown Noonan's only independent bookstore. And they offer a wide selection of bestsellers and award-winning books with adult, children's, and special interest titles to suit your fancy. Many of Hometown Novel Night's authors have their books available in the Southern Fried Books local authors section, bringing local authors and local audiences together south of Atlanta. In fact, Thursday, December 12th at 6:30 p.m., the special Southern Fried Books, 29 Jackson Street, Noonan, downtown Noonan's only independent bookstore. And they offer a wide selection of bestsellers and award-winning books with adult, children's, and special interest titles to suit your fancy. Many of Hometown Novel Night authors have their books available in the Southern Fried Book local section, bringing local authors and local audiences together south of Atlanta. And on Thursday, March 19th, 7 p.m., Hometown Novel Nights returns to Rogers Barbecue in Hogansville. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves this morning. We will share more details in just a few. But first, his friends and family know him as Mike. However, he also goes by T.M. Brown, an award-winning local Southern author who proudly calls Coweta County home.
Good morning, Noonan. What a beautiful, beautiful, not quite sunny day here in Noonan this morning. But the good news is another couple of days we're going to have some sunshine coming upon us. I think the good Lord finally is finding that we've had enough rain. As my special guest and I were talking about, the one reassurance we have is we will not get flooded out. That we have a promise. So for y'all that keep thinking that we've got all the rain we can handle, there has been worse in history. But thank you, Ryan. I'm glad to be here again, and thank you to all of the listeners of WQEE Rock the Key. I'm so pleased to be here once again with y'all. Before I introduce the folks to my special guest this morning, I'd like to get everyone up to date, with the latest happenings of what's going on in Hometown Novel Nights. We're seeing the more and more people are showing up at the events. We're actually getting to go into new venues as a result of some of the popularity of what we're doing and introducing local authors to the local audience around here. And this is just starting to have, it's a movement. Nobody's making any money off of this. It's strictly a bunch of us getting together and deciding to help one another to get the word out, to the audience that's out there. And we get the support of places like the Noonan Carnegie Library and Corner Arts Gallery with their local author program. And then definitely we couldn't be doing this, what we're talking to you today, without the sponsorship of Southern Fried Books, the new independent bookstore right here in Noonan at 29 Jackson Street, just 2 blocks from where I'm broadcasting with Brian this morning. Just kind of like a highlight of what happened last month, because if you missed this, you missed the awesome Hometown Novel Night author program we did at the Carnegie Library. The weather wasn't great. Matter of fact, it made me a little nervous. But I'll tell you what, it spoke about the quality of the authors that we had on the panel, because we had a record crowd show up back on the 20th of February, that Thursday night at the Carnegie. And who we had there was this Angela McRae, which a lot of the folks here in Noonan know her very, very, very well. David Coppage from Sonoya was there, bringing his 3 novels, which are, it's to try to put a label on him would be hard, because he comes from a background, of law enforcement, and he wrote a great book about it, but he also has a political intrigue book that's phenomenal, which is very relevant to the times today going on in Washington. And then he turns around and he writes a story about being in a small town and in the back pews of a church, and how that plays out in his life. So, and David's just a great guy, and I love him to death. He was raised down in South Florida. He was a youngster when I was going through high school, but we have some common roots that way. But then I had a very good special friend of mine, Christopher Swan, came down from Atlanta. Christopher Swan is a nationally published author who's an award winner, the Townsend Prize Award winner for his fiction. Phenomenal mystery writer. Him and I are going to be doing different events together. But he spoke, and just all 3 authors had this audience all enthralled. And the book sales that night were one of the biggest that we've had, thanks to Southern Pride Books being there to help the audience with the books. But they registered the most books sold that we have ever done at one of the events. And I think that is just absolutely phenomenal. But we also had a special treat, because yours truly is doing less emceeing, and I'm turning over the reins to the very talented Scott Ludwig. Now, Scott, for you that don't know him, he has been on the radio, but he's my reincarnated Louis Grizzard guy. Now, he had just come back from Key West, and he had gone in to see the Ernest Hemingway home, and he did the museum there with all of the writing, and he brought back all of these tales about Ernest Hemingway. And, and he just kept all of us enthralled at, feeding the information throughout the evening while he was introducing the different authors. So we're really, what's happening is again, there's a lot of reasons to be out with us on our Hometown Novel Night author programs each month. Also on the 4th Sunday, we do the 4th Sunday talk, afternoon talk, at the Monarch House. And it's an opportunity for the authors to kind of get more than you don't worry about selling books when you go to this. You go to do this because you enjoy the looks on the faces of the people, the residents of the Monarch House, which is a phenomenal assisted living facility there. But between the residents and their guests, we had Angela McRae brought her husband Alex, who many of y'all know is a column writer for the Noonan Times Herald, and has been both of them have been employed by the Noonan Times Herald in their past, and they brought an interesting conversation the Sunday afternoon. So, and that was just a great way to start off the year for us in February. Coming up this month on the 19th, we're returning back to Rogers Barbecue in Hogansville. For y'all that don't know that, I would love to encourage you to go, because they have some of the best barbecue out there. Randy Stribling and his wife Tony have been our supporters and guests since we started. They're located right off of exit 28 off I-85. I mean, it's right there. And they give us their banquet room to fill up. So guess what? We get to eat barbecue, sip on some tea while the authors are talking and interacting with you in the audience. And it's a phenomenal time. This month, who we've got going on the author panel, some of these names will be very familiar. Number 1, Alex McRae. So Angela's sending her husband down to Hogansville, because I think Angela wants the barbecue. Toby Nix is going to be there, and everybody should know who Toby Nix is with his columns that he writes in the Noonan Times Herald. He's got a sense of humor that is right there, that'll keep us all rolled up in stitches. And then we're having a young lady coming all the way from Warner Robins. She is a gifted sci-fi horror author who said, "Can I come up to be a part of Hometown Novel Nights?" So I said, yes. So Carol James Marshall is going to be bringing her whole family up to share some barbecue and share some stories about her books with us that evening. And I always like to interject, to interject with some authors from just outside the area that have some strong Georgia roots to introduce to our growing audience as well. So come out on March 19th, enjoy some good book talks and barbecue, and of course, you might get lucky enough to win a door prize that you might be surprised about. And now, on our next fourth Sunday at the Monarch House, we're also bringing Damon Poirier and Mark Wallace McGuire. Both are from Fayetteville. They actually are an interesting team. I know Mark well. With his poetry and his, novel writing, he's a phenomenally gifted person who invests all of his time into a lot of special needs projects, with fathers that have handicapped children and all. So he's involved in a lot of those projects. So you're going to love listening to Mark McGuire when he goes there on that the fourth Sunday of the month. Now, I also would be remiss, before I introduce our special guest this morning, I would be remiss, and this is a little bit self-serving, but on Saturday night, the sun will be shining in Warm Springs. And I've been invited down to launch the first of the Hometown Novel Nights Author of the Month programs that's being called Lines Between the Wines, hosted by Warm Springs Cellars. Now, if you haven't been down to Warm Springs in a while, you're going to find that they're growing a lot down there, and they're really building up the tourist trade. And this weekend's going to be all sunshine. So I'd invite you to come down 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon until 5. I'll be talking with their book club down there and all of the patrons at the Warm Springs Cellars, talking about my books, the 2 current books, plus I'll be doing some sneak peek previews of my 3rd book that'll be coming out on May 5th. So I would just encourage you to come on out. We've been cramped up in our houses for quite a long time. The sun is going to be shining, so come on outdoors. And it's too early to mow grass anyway. So why not, get involved in that? So just because I mentioned the book launch, my special guest has been very helpful to me. As a matter of fact, when I go to do the book launch for Purgatory, A Progeny's Quest, the 3rd and final book in my series, I'm going to be doing it thanks to my special guest, Miss Brittany Partington, who's the Adults Program Coordinator for the Carnegie Library, on May 5th. So I won't say anything more about that because we've got plenty of time, but I do want to introduce Brittany. Brittany is from Mansfield, Ohio, and I bet you she didn't realize that I actually know where Mansfield, Ohio is. I actually spent some time there, but it's a long time ago. You were, I don't know, maybe you were a little wee one running around the streets when I was there.
To prison.
No, did not go to prison, thank you.
Shawshank Redemption Prison, the famous prison, the penitentiary.
No, I was on business for other reasons.
It's most of the reasons why people go to Mansfield, Ohio.
If my wife is listening, no, I was not at the prison in Mansfield. Yeah, it's been over 20 years ago that I was there. So you would have been a wee one from that time. But I'm curious, how you wound up in Noonan? So tell us a little bit about yourself, Brittany, and how did you get from there to here? And I've enjoyed working with you, so it's now time to listen to Brittany.
Yeah, so I was born in Mansfield and lived there until my dad relocated for a job to Griffin, Georgia, and grew up there. And after that, I entered the camping industry, and so I ended up all over the United States. Eventually, I got a bachelor's of sociology at Georgia State, and after about a decade of wandering and meandering across the U.S., I thought I may try to put some roots down, and got into the event industry and met my husband, and he's from Fayetteville, and he wasn't too keen on moving all across the U.S., even though I was ready to pick up some roots, so I had to find somewhere I loved. And we looked at a lot of local places. We considered moving to Atlanta, but really fell in love with Noonan and its charm and how much is going on downtown with all the events, and we love hanging out at the Alamo and just still keeping busy, but with that small town feel. So we just purchased our house here, and so I'm putting down roots for the first time. Noonan was the first city I lived in for over a year after a whole decade, so there must be something special about it. I always tell people.
I think it's in the soil, once you get your feet and wiggle your toes in some of the, the red clay in the area, it kind of grows on you. But Noonan is a way to attract. I mean, my wife and I are, we're immigrants into the town. We've been living here now for about 12 years, and we just love it. Even when my grandkids left, and my wife said, "Well, no, we're going to stay in Noonan." We can travel to the grandkids. We like our community, so we enjoyed staying here. So you've been with the Carnegie now, not quite a year.
Not quite a year in August.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It was during the summer.
Yes.
And you took over Susan Crutchfield, who's the director now.
Big shoes to fill.
Yeah, you took over her shoes. She was doing a phenomenal job. But since then, I would say that you've got some bragging rights because, from my perspective, Hometown Novel Nights has been very successful thanks to Brittany Partington and for many reasons. Of course, Susan's been in the background helping from the bigger seat at the library. So we'll give Susan some credit because I know she's listening. So tell us a little bit, now that you've got your feet wet, you've been doing this for several months. I've been looking online, and I've been to the library a few times to catch up with you too. There's some stuff happening at the Carnegie in the coming weeks. Kind of give the listeners a little of what's happening, because some of y'all might not be aware of it. So go ahead, Brittany.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people think of the Carnegie as just offering afternoon programs, and it's not really accessible to everyone, but that's really what I'm trying to change. So we just started Saturdays. That was a big collaborative effort. So every Saturday, unless it is a holiday weekend, we'll be open from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. We'll be offering programs sporadically throughout the year, but at least we will be open for our circulating book collections and computer use and just to see the beautiful building we're in. But we also have some great evening programs coming up besides Hometown Novel Nights, which will come back in April. But March, we have the Other Night School with the University of West Georgia. That's a poet. It's their Blackwell Prize winner, Graham Barnhart, and he's kind of interesting because he is a U.S. Army vet and was a special operations medic. So he really talks about his work and his debut collection, The War Makes Everybody Lonely. So that's coming up next Tuesday. Refreshments start at 6:30 is the lecture. And then something I'm really excited about coming up the week later on Thursday, March 19th at 7 p.m. is our Entrepreneur Story Time. We have so many great local businesses, and I think Noonan does a great job of supporting them, and a lot of times we don't know the history. And I think entrepreneur and the entrepreneurial spirit is very popular right now. A lot of people have an idea for a business. People want to work for themselves, and they kind of know what goes into it, but they really don't. I come from, when we lived in Ohio, my parents owned 3 small jewelry stores, so I definitely lived the small business owner life. But people don't always necessarily see the struggles, but they don't also get to see the joy. So Kenya Brantley of Greenhouse Mercantile will be coming to present and kind of telling the history of her business and everything she's been through. So I'm really looking forward to that. But we've got all our other programs that people have been used to. Our exercises medicine program, our yoga program. We've got a DIY Bath Busy class coming up, gardening for birds. So there's really something for everyone, and the great thing about programs at the Carnegie is that they're all free. There's no charge. So all we ask you to do is that you register on our Eventbrite, so it gives us a heads up to plan.
Well, and it's not just, it's of all ages.
Yes.
I mean, you got programs that you got the little kids and the tots are all involved in.
Right.
But then you've also got, my friends at the Monarch House, come and participate in some of the senior adult activities that go on there. So you've got that full spectrum. But there's also some special names coming into the Carnegie in the coming weeks.
Yes. So starting in April, we are hitting the ground running with authors. I think people are going to be a little bit overwhelmed with how many great people are coming, and a lot of that's in part with our Noonan Carnegie Library Foundation. They've been working so hard with their speaker series. First up, April the 4th is New York Times bestselling author Patty Callahan. She's going to present her paperback edition of Becoming Mrs. Lewis. I know you're excited about that.
Yeah.
That's going to be great. They'll do a coffee meet and greet. She'll do a presentation, and then of course a book signing. Then right after that, 4 days later, we've got another New York Times bestselling author, Marie Benedict, is coming to produce her, to present her Lady Clementine, which is a biography of the wife of Winston Churchill. And we're going to do something special with that. We're going to have Lady Clementine's tea and biscuits beforehand, and then she'll chat and of course do a book signing. And then 10 days later, I'm telling you, we are going to keep you busy. Pat McKee will be here. That's Noonan's own author, presenting about his new sci-fi legal thriller, Ariel's Island. And then May, we of course have your book launch coming up, May 5th. That'll be in the afternoon. And then we've got North Georgia author Mark Warren coming to present his trilogy about Wyatt Earp and all his research, which is really cool because that's going to give you a mix of not only local author lovers, but people that like history and want to learn about him. He's been researching him for like 50-something years, some extraordinary amount of time. And then at the end of the month, we just announced we will have New York Times bestselling author Mary Alice Monroe talking about her on Ocean Boulevard. And she's actually just signed to, not her. So that's really exciting. And we're going to do a beach theme meet and greet for that one. So we're going to do some mocktails, and you'll see some lovely seashells and things like that, so it'll have a great ocean theme, and that'll be a lot of fun.
For those that don't know that, Mary Alice Monroe, she's famous for her beach reads. So, yeah, absolutely. That's
Perfect timing. Right before you go to the beach in the summer, come grab it, get it signed, and then read it facing the ocean.
Yeah, when I started seeing all of these events popping up, I was like, wow. Noonan it is amazing, and I'm going to share this with the local folks. But wherever I go, wherever I travel with my book events, when I mention I'm from Noonan, because I call Noonan my hometown, even though I actually sleep over in Grantville, but Noonan is I love my Grantville people, but Noonan is, for me, it is hometown. But when I mention Noonan, everybody's eyes light up. They've known of Noonan. Noonan's got, this reputation that's growing, and some of the people that I have shared my latest book with for some advanced reviews have made reference to the fact that they recognize downtown Noonan in my stories. And I just smile because I don't advertise it necessarily, but and I always tell them that. But yeah, Noonan is getting to be the place that people want to come to. And Brittany, you know that when we have events here, whether it's the Noonan Art Walk or any of the other events that go on, how many people from out of town show up at these events that, poking around? It's not just locals.
Oh, sure.
It's amazing to see how people come from all over.
People know Noonan. I mean, I spent a lot of time in the Atlanta area before coming and commuted for years, and so people know Noonan. They recognize it. They like it's a good escape from the city. It's close by, and really that our southern charm really shows. But we still have enough happening, so we're not a sleepy town at all.
So now this is a build-up because we're going to talk about a really, really special big event that's coming this summer. Folks, if you haven't heard, and it's just now starting to get broadcast out there, but on June 5th, 6th, and 7th, that entire weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Noonan is going to be the host of the Southern Lit Fest 2020. Downtown Noonan, this Court Square area and the blocks around it are going to be invaded by publishers, authors, writers, people who love books of all shapes, forms, and kinds, people who like to support it, are going to be flocking to Noonan. This is going to be, I've been attending Decatur Book Festival now for 4 years, but Noonan is going to rival that. It's not quite as big as Decatur, because Decatur is the biggest of the entire country. But I will say, from our perspective, this is going to be really amazing. Tell me what you've heard about, the Southern Lit Fest and what's on tap a little bit.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of great things going on. It's going to be a mix of paid and free programs throughout the whole weekend. And it's really, as much as it is a celebration of literature, it's also a celebration of the Southern heritage and all the things that go on with the Southern culture. So sipping bourbon on porches, Southern fashion, Southern songwriting, all that great stuff going on. The Southern Lit Fest is also partially a fundraiser for the Noonan Carnegie Library Foundation. They do great things for the Carnegie, like sponsor our Munchkin Masquerade, the Great Author Series, all those best-selling New York Times authors that are coming. They so help support that. They support a lot of our children's programming. They do a lot of great things for us. So they have 2 ticketed events. One is the Barbecue Under the Stars, and a literary tour is what they're calling it, but it's so much more. That's Friday evening. So under the twinkle lights, you can have a great barbecue dinner in the streets of downtown Noonan, and then you get to walk around downtown Noonan and have author encounters, visit Southern Fried Books. Vinyl Light will have a Southern singer-songwriter there. The Boyd Gallery will be doing a special exhibit, so there'll be so much going on there. And then Saturday is Bourbon on the Porch, and it's exactly what it sounds like. You get to visit 4 beautiful antebellum homes, sip some bourbon on the porch, and listen to some great authors.
Absolutely.
So all those tickets are available now on their Eventbrite, or the Southern Lit Fest has now debuted their new webpage just for that. It's southernlitfest.com, really easy to remember. And then we have lots of free events, everything from children to adults. Yeah. So we'll have Michael Levine. He's famous for the cat, Pete the Cat. He was originally affiliated with that, so he'll sing and do some great stories. That'll be at the Carnegie. And then Darren Hicks is coming. He wrote The Secret of Shakespeare's Grave and The Van Gogh Deception. He'll be doing a writing workshop for middle schoolers in a presentation that'll be at the Presbyterian Church. And then Saturday, we have a whole host of people that I know folks are excited about because I already have people asking me about them. We've got Sean Dietrich, we've got Akbar the Storyteller is going to be doing some Brer Rabbit storytelling for children. Bill Oberst Jr. as Louis Grizzard, because how could we forget him?
That's fabulous,
And Noonan,
yeah.
we have to have him here. Dr. Wayne Clough, who was the first Southern-born Secretary of the Smithsonian, is coming to do a presentation, and Robert Hicks. So those will be stationed throughout the square. There'll be some at the University of West Georgia, some at the Carnegie, and some at the courthouse. And it'll basically be every hour on the hour. There will be an author presentation from 9 to 5. And we have 2 more guest speakers that have yet to be announced. So there's still more to look forward to.
More secrets to unveil.
Yes, and then Sunday we'll end the event with a historic Bible exhibit at 3 p.m. at the United Methodist Church, and there'll be a talk with that. So there's truly something for everyone, children, teens, adults. So whether you can come for an hour to hear one speaker or you plan to spend the whole weekend with us, there's plenty to explore.
That's fantastic. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. Y'all just need to maybe just start poking around and see what's on the website about it,
Yes.
because there'll be more and more and more coming out. And I'm pleased to know that Southern Fried Bookstore is going to be part of that process over there. I love those folks over there. So if you haven't been down to Southern Fried Books, before I forget, and if you haven't been into the Carnegie Library, you need to. And you need to be familiar with who Brittany is, and Sue Crutchfield, and Elizabeth, and all the others that are there at the Carnegie Library. But I also want to, hopefully that y'all will hear more and more. That's what the Hometown Novel Nights does try to do. So if you come out on the 19th to the Hometown Novel Nights next program at the Rogers Barbecue at 7 o'clock on exit 28 off of I-85. Come on out and sit with us. We'll have more up-to-date information about what's going on. There's rumor I might have my 3rd book cover reveal going on at that event. It's rumor. It depends, because I'm subject to having some my publisher down the street making sure that he gets that for me. But I'd like to have it by then if that's possible. A lot of people have been asking. But yeah, I would like to ask you this though, Brittany. I really want to thank you for being here today, and especially coming out in this wonderful liquid sunshine.
So lovely.
Yeah, it was nice. To get to see how our umbrellas work. Before you leave, I want to ask this question: if you could have one author to sit down with on a one-on-one for an hour, have you got one in mind that you would just love to sit down with?
I feel like I would be doing my high school English teacher a disservice if I didn't say William Shakespeare. It's a little cliche, but I have a theater background as well, and I started acting Shakespeare. That's where my roots are. And his stories are so interesting. They're trashy, they're funny, they're historical, they're a little bit everywhere, and he has to be an interesting guy to come up with those stories. I think we oftentimes get intimidated, but they're nothing to be intimidated by. And so, yeah, I gotta meet the man, the myth, the legend.
Well, that would be an interesting one to do, especially if you try to understand all of the references and whatnot.
Right.
But yeah, no, I love it.
Words he made up.
Actually, I have to confess, I did Midsummer's Night Dream during college. So yeah, and my wife has got the picture of me in tights to prove it. So anyway, but thank you, Brittany, for being here today. Stop by the Carnegie and make sure to say hello to Brittany when you do. Okay. Check out all the latest bestsellers, local interest books over at the bookshelves at the Southern Fried Books at 29 Jackson Street is our sponsor. I want to thank them for doing all that they do. For those that want to know more about Hometown Novel Nights, you can go to at WGA Hometown Novel Nights on Facebook, at Hometown Novel Night on Instagram, or you could go to my webpage, tmbrownauthor.com, and there is a Hometown Novel tab there that'll get you directed where you need to know. And book clubs, I keep saying this all the time, book clubs, come to our events and you get to be introduced to some great authors that'll be part of your book clubs in the future. And I hope to see you there. If you have any questions, please give me an email. Again, thank you so much, and I'll see you coming up at the next Hometown Novel Night program, and see you next month on April 7th here, Tuesday at 9:30.
For those who would like to find out more about the future schedule of Hometown Novel Night events, visit Hometown Novel Nights on Facebook or visit Mike's author page at tmbrownauthor.com. And there is a page dedicated to Hometown Novel Nights there as well. You can also visit For those who would like to find out more about the future schedule of Hometown Novel Night events, visit Hometown Novel Nights on Facebook or visit Mike's author page at tmbrownauthor.com. And there is a page dedicated to Hometown Novel Nights there as well. You can also visit at Southern Fried Books on Facebook, or better yet, stop in and visit their store at 29 Jackson Street in downtown Noonan. This has been the Hometown Novel Nights radio show, hosted by T.M. Brown. See you next time.